and welcome to Renew, this show all about the College of Forest Resources. The College of Forest Resources works to sustain and conserve and use our natural resources for the benefit of Mississippians and really people throughout the globe. And today we are so excited to have Dr. Scott Rush in the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries and Aquaculture. So welcome, Dr. Rush.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you today because you're doing really some cool research with birds.
Oh, thanks,
and, you know, I think about particularly a story that came out this summer about the eagle that made the trip from Mississippi.
It did, yeah, coastal Mississippi.
Yeah, to Maine.
Yep.
Via Canada, right?
It did, yeah. So this was a bird that Mississippi Sandhill Crane Fish and Wildlife Refuge, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Refuge down in Goshen, Mississippi, in collaboration with Mississippi Power. We've been working for several years now to band young bald eagles as part of their program there. And this past year, I believe it was in March, was the first year that we put a GPS transmitter on one of those eagles. So it was neat to see it grow up, to leave the nest and start moving around, around the nest area. But then ultimately, I guess probably about after a month of checking out that area, it just shot north. And it made it up into Ohio, it hit the Great Lakes, moved alongside there and up into Ontario, and then ultimately came back down to Maine near Acadia National Park, where it spent the summer, and now it's traversing the Appalachian Mountains and coming down south again.
Okay.
And we don't know ultimately where it will end up. We assume it's probably going to go back to the Mississippi coast, but it's an exciting thing to see happen and watch it unwind.
Right, yeah, and it's exciting just to think about an eagle and being able to track it.
Yeah, exactly.
And where it goes, because you think maybe it would stay in a small area, but really it went how many miles?
Oh, gosh.
Have y'all tracked it?
It's been a lot, yeah, thousands.
Yeah.
So you're kind of spying on its life with, it's just a little bit voyeur-ish, but...
Yeah, but it doesn't know, maybe.
No,
okay.
It just thinks it's got a backpack on.
So when you're tracking or when you're tagging the young eagles, is that mainly what y'all are hoping to find, is where it travels? And
pretty much, yeah. So up to this point, we've been putting a federal tag on one leg and a colored, unique identified tag on the other leg. And these are just the bands like you would put on a duck. And we have one bird that was respotted that left the nest, and then I think it was respotted about a year later, maybe 6 kilometers from where that nest was. So that's the only visualization we have on a bird that we tagged. So it's neat to think that maybe that bird made that same trip up to the north and then it came back down again. So we'll see with this tag bird if it does that same repeat trip.
So talking about the tags, you don't obviously geo-track every bird that's tagged. And so you rely on citizen scientists to kind of report those?
We do, yeah. So at its essence, bird banding and bird tagging is looking at point A to B. So if you see a bird that you put a band on or a tag on, and then it's resighted or recovered later, you know where it was originally and you know where it went to. You don't know what happened between those two, but you can kind of start plotting points on a map and figure out where it might have gone in that process.
And how do our citizen scientists, how do they report those? Is there a network?
There is. So yeah, the Migratory Bird Treaty Act kind of led to a culmination of different countries having their own banding programs. So the US, Canada, and Mexico kind of share resources in that they each have their own banding lab per se, but they coordinate among them. So all the birds that are tagged federally within the US, all that data goes into a repository in Maryland. And so if that bird was recovered or recaptured, it has a unique identifier on it, so they can go back into that database and figure out where it's been and where it came from. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so there's a website for it, for reporting that, but it's just under the Bird Banding Lab through USGS.
Okay. And so you all work a lot with electric companies,
we do,
like TVA, Mississippi Power, because sometimes humans encroach on wildlife habitat, wildlife then encroach on human needs.
Sure, yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about what you all do with TVA to provide wildlife habitat so they won't basically get on utility poles. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's an issue with utility poles and communication towers. A lot of these birds like to perch or nest up high above the ground where they have a clear visualization around them. So when you put a big structure in like that, the birds are going to use it because they like to be up there. They like to be able to see 360 degrees around them, 365. So you create kind of the optimum situation for them to nest and also for them to roost. But in that, they're electrified systems, sometimes those birds can reach across the lines inadvertently and cause an outage, or they can cause a fire, which can be detrimental to the bird, but also knock out power to the customers. So trying to figure out ways to work not only with the utility systems, but also with the wildlife to mitigate some of those and remove those risks it's an evolving process.
I bet. I bet. Well, we so thank you for being here today, Dr. Rush, and we're going to take a break, but next we'll have Jonathan Smith, one of your graduate students, to talk more about your work. So
Sounds great.
You.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Want a career as big as the outdoors? Want to have an impact on the environment? The College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University delivers hands-on training, ensuring clean air and water, wildlife habitats, and a sustainable environment. Creating new wood products and retooling old ones for today and tomorrow. Find a career in whatever path you choose. Majors in forestry, natural resource and environmental conservation, sustainable bioproducts, wildlife, fisheries, and aquaculture. Want a career as big as the outdoors? Choose the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University.
Discovery. It tells our history and determines our future. At Mississippi State University, we're digging deep, unlocking an understanding of our past, validating it. Middle East exploration by faculty and students is uncovering evidence that unravels ancient mysteries. Scholars have long thought of the biblical kings David and Solomon as mythological figures. Our research offers evidence that supports their existence, boosting MSU into an international league of experts on archaeology. Now we're changing the way people think about the past, opening up new possibilities of understanding for future generations. Digging deeper, learning more.
Welcome back to Renew. Now we have our special guest, master student Jonathan Smith. Jonathan, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your path to get to Mississippi State.
Well, it was funny because I had started going to Mississippi State with actually potentially going to Ole Miss. So what was funny about that is that as I was graduating high school, I was looking for colleges. I was trying to see which college would be the best. I wanted to be in something where I could do something with nature, basically. Natural resources, animals, nature, etc. Ole Miss had a biosciences department, but then I saw Mississippi State and I saw they had biological sciences with a concentration in zoology, and I was like, that's the one. And so once I got in there, I found out about wildlife and fisheries. And as I did that, I figured this is probably going to be a better fit for me. So in undergrad, I switched from biosciences to wildlife. I stayed with it throughout my undergraduate degree. And then after I had graduated, I actually got a job at the Mississippi Museum of Natural Science. And that was good. That was a good job for me, but I kind of wanted to come back and pursue a master's degree. So I had Dr. Rush had hit me up, basically said, hey, I have a position for you here. And I got on it, and here I am now.
Well, we're so glad you're back.
You.
Where are you from originally?
Mississippians will probably know this. I'm from Gluckstadt, Mississippi. It's in between I want to say it's in between Madison and Canton. It's right now, it's currently becoming like its own city, basically.
Yeah, okay. And working for Dr. Rush, you're studying vultures.
Right.
Black vultures and turkey vultures.
Right.
You know, most of us avoid vultures on the road, but you're actually seeking them out to count them. And tell me why vultures? Why study vultures?
Well, you see, vultures, they provide a very unique and very key ecological service. They are primarily carrion eaters. They eat dead things, and there's a lot of roadkill that piles up on the road, and it's very interesting to study vultures and to see exactly like where they are on the landscape, see if certain landscape features may attract vultures to that landscape more so than others. And they also provide services by cleaning up trash, because they also eat organic waste. You'll find them a lot at landfills or even at just local dumpsters that don't necessarily pick up their trash as often as they probably should.
Right, and so we joke about, you know, you're spending your graduate years dumpster diving.
Yeah.
But tell me what you have found out about vultures that you didn't know.
So my project is primarily focusing on doing road surveys. So mostly I am going down the road with a driver, and we're counting vultures as we see them. And what I've discovered so far basically is that vultures, they tend to be found almost everywhere in Mississippi, but the Delta region, which is, we have two routes that go through the Delta, one up and down, the other straight across. Once we hit the Delta, vultures just become rare to almost completely absent.
Yeah, you would think with the flat land that they would see further, because I'm sure they have really very good eyesight, that they could smell further just because it's flat.
Exactly.
But what you found is just the opposite, that North Mississippi maybe has more vultures than the Delta.
Maybe. It's weird because, like you said, flat land, plenty of places for thermals to rise, and we think that it may have something to do with the landscape as well, that the vultures may just not have exactly all that they need there to settle down. Because we see sometimes turkey vultures, they'll sometimes range further away from range further out to search for potential food sources than black vultures, but we see black vultures and turkey vultures on like the outskirts of the Delta, but not necessarily deep in, unless there's a strong wind that just blows them in.
Okay. Well, isn't that interesting? You know, most of us might see a vulture just to see what it might be eating, but you're actually looking for them on the side of the road. So, interesting project, and we can't wait to see the results. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for joining us, and thank you all for joining us today on Renew, and I hope that you'll get outside and enjoy our natural resources.